It's on. Yo. So, welcome to another episode of Deport Entertainment. And today, my special guest, a fellow poet, podcaster,
Yeah.
amongst other things. All right. Mrs. Savvy Kira. Well, how would you like to be?
Kira Savvy Kira, man.
Thank you
it's
for
all one
joining me
and the
today.
same. No
Thank you for
doubt.
joining me. So we're live on Instagram. We're also, recording this for so we can distribute it through all the platforms. You
No
gotta find us
doubt.
later. Deport Entertainment, and also what's the name of your podcast?
It is called literally just Talk Radio Podcast and Talk Heavy TV Vlog Series. That's TAWK. To acknowledge with knowledge. I'm challenging your thought processes
acknowledge
out
with
there.
knowledge.
Yeah, man. I basically just took, the urban spelling of talk, TALK.
I mean, that's how I pronounce it, I think.
Yeah, turn it into my own little acronym, and
Yeah.
it makes sense to me.
All right. So let's talk more. Yeah, let's talk about the podcast. What got you into starting a podcast?
Yeah, so I actually started the podcast like at the beginning of the pandemic, April 2020. Like everybody else, I was at home sitting on my hands and feet, trying to think about what's next, what's the next step in life, and where's my life taking me, and where am I going. And the podcast actually came from like a really hard situation. I was in a domestic violence situation for years, and I had to find something where I challenged.
That's terrible.
Yeah, it is. It's life and it happens. And the thing about it is like I'm finally coming to a place where I've acknowledged those things in my life as being traumatic, as being hard, and being realistic with myself, and really talking to myself and asking myself, well, what am I going to do to heal, to grow, to, actually help other people learn from my experiences.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I said to myself, I had to acknowledge where I was in life and really how I felt, how I got there, and just taking accountability for my own actions and learning and relearning, rediscovering myself in efforts to actually help other people, I thought a lot about my thought processes and how I thought about the way I approach life, or how I approach situations that I didn't even, actually put into account as being traumatic, like I said, So that's really where the podcast was born,
Okay.
It started off literally just Talk Radio, and it actually grew over the last 3 years to Talk Heavy TV, to the vlog series, because I actually got the confidence to put myself on camera,
Oh yeah.
And being a podcaster, like that take a minute.
It takes a minute.
It take a minute to get there.
But you gotta start. You gotta start, right? Just like anything
Right.
else. So besides the podcast, you also recently wrote a book, right? Or finished a book.
Yeah. So I actually just published my first poetry book, More Than Meets the Eye, Vivid Paintings of Poetry. I gave it that subtitle because I like to say
It's right here, by
I
the
paint
way.
a picture with my words. Here y'all go. Y'all can see that. Bam. Yeah. It's all me from front to back. I designed it,
Yeah,
it's
that's
my
how I met
picture.
you. That's how I met you. Like
Yeah.
we were at this event and you did I think it was a corporate like your experience in the corporate
It
world.
was Watch Your Language.
That was a great poem that you did, and then recently at Voices in Power, I saw another of you were able to perform, and I got to witness that too.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay,
Right.
Kira, you got bars, you got flow, you know what you're doing with poetry.
I appreciate that. But it's crazy with my poetry. Like, I literally just start calling myself a poet last year because I've always been a writer. I've loved writing since I was a little girl, I used to write screenplays for churches, like church plays around Christmas time and Easter time, and put the whole production together. It's always just been in me to write. And anytime I come, like my life comes full circle and I'm going through something, I always come back to writing. So calling myself a poet, it's new for me, for real,
Me as well.
I like to call myself an artist.
Ever since I moved here 2 years ago and found found out it was like a whole poetry community here.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was like, you can't make a living out of this. No one appreciates poetry. Because I used to live in Texas, and growing up, I used to write poems like, you know, like
Right.
for girls, you know. And they were pretty good poems.
Right.
And then, but eventually, like, you know, you break up with them girls, or it doesn't amount to anything. So you like, poetry doesn't help you. You kind of like store it to the side, and then growing up, like, you don't, like, I didn't, like, compared to what here in Philly, I was also in Indianapolis. It was nothing like what would they have here. And once I moved here and saw what, like, I actually ran into this event, Voices in Power, where the second time I saw you perform, and I was like, whoa. And there's people here that make a living out of it.
Facts.
I'm like, wow, like, I need to come back from retirement, because I retired from poetry, like, and I used to be it's kind of like one of those things that you kind of ashamed of growing up, because I didn't feel like it was appreciated.
Right. Well, you know, I can understand that too, because I used to feel like my poetry was like my personal journal, you know.
Yeah.
Like, I never thought my writing would actually even see the light of day, let alone perform it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because of, like, the insecurities I had about myself as a child. Like, I've always been a writer, and people told me, like, and I like, started singing too. So, like, a lot of my poems is coupled with music, because music just fills me.
Yeah.
It's like one of the greatest forms of expression as well. But when you can play with your words, and you know actually how to convey a message and paint a picture, like, and make a living off of it, it's a hard job, you know? Like, it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of effort. Like with anything, it takes a lot of consistency, you know?
Right.
But I think that when it comes from you and when it comes from the heart, like, that makes all the difference. Like, this book, for example, is like just wrapped up in everything that I was experiencing just last year alone. So, like,
so you wrote a lot last year.
Yeah, like a lot, because I was actually in a space where I was just comfortable with doing so, you know. I was kind of made comfortable with just putting myself in a position just to write and express myself. Like, I got a poem in there called Question in Time. And it's actually about my little brother that's in a coma, you know.
Oh, wow.
So I got something in there called Beautiful. That's just how I see black men. I think black men, y'all are beautiful, and I love y'all.
That's
you
great, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I got one in there, no doubt, every day, because it's hard out here, you know? I got one in there even called Man Child.
I think it's the one you perform, right?
Yeah. And that's kind of like the opposite of beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a lot of me in that, and I called it More Than Meets the letter I, because it was like,
it's a good title.
I'm so much more than my titles. You know what I mean? I'm so much more than I am this and I am that.
Right.
You
More
know?
than meets the I, like, and then the fact that I is I, like the letter I, which means the person.
Yeah.
But what you see, like, it's deeper than what you see, you know.
Right.
So it's the title itself, like, yeah.
Yeah,
I like
man.
it.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you for allowing me to, display my work. No doubt.
So, I mean, and then you mentioned a little bit about healing, and that's what we want to focus the topic.
Oh, yeah.
You know, with, because you say you experienced a lot in the recent years, but I guess we're all, from what I have realized, I mean, it seems like everyone is in a healing journey.
Yeah.
You know, from their childhood, and then from heartbreaks, from traumatic events.
Yeah.
You know, it's nonstop. So yeah, I mean, let's get a little bit into that.
Right.
I mean, like, I think I guess I want to start, like, do you feel like the healing journey ever ends?
Nah.
Nah, right?
Nah. But see, you know what's the funny part about the healing journey is you're constantly healing, because in healing you're challenging what you've always known to be normal to you. You're challenging what you've always taken on as being just a part of your life. like I said, like I've been through some traumatic situations that I can kind of just talk about and people gasp like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry
Mm-hmm.
that happened to you." But
Right.
because it was a sense, it was normal for me for that to
Mm.
have happened or for
Right.
me to be in these situations. I
Mm-hmm.
never knew what it meant to actually look at them as traumatic and target them as being traumatic until I started to look at myself. Until I
Mm-hmm.
started to look at
Yeah.
what part I may played in those things. Even when it was something like that happened to me as a child, you know. As a
Mm.
child, of course, like you're innocent, you know.
Yeah.
So when traumatic things happen to you, you don't have any control over the situation. But
Mm.
what we do is we internalize it and carry that into our adulthoods.
Yeah.
And it becomes a part of our existence. It becomes a part of our character, a part of our personality.
Oh yeah.
And we don't understand why we are this way or why we even react to things that we may react to
Oh yeah.
because of what's already in us. I think my podcast really grew out of me wanting to help myself, you know, like being in a place where, you know, everybody was
Mm.
dealing with isolation. But it wasn't really as hard for me because I always isolated myself. You know what I'm saying? I've
Is
always,
that like your way of dealing with with problems? I guess
yeah,
it
it was
was,
it
or.
was always my way, and I put stuff in the past tense because
Mm-hmm.
I know what I had to come from. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Which is why I say it's like it's never ending
It
because there's
is.
so many things that you have to break down that stems from as far back as you can remember that really puts you in a position to say, damn, like I don't want to be this person anymore. Like,
So as soon as
mm-hmm.
we come into this earth, we're damaged goods in a way,
Yeah, I'm gonna be, yeah, for real. We are like
because I mean, we're
we come into this earth unknowing. We come
right,
into this
yeah,
earth, you know, born into not
and then we
knowing
have the
anything.
generational traumas too already that
Yeah,
we inherit,
that
you know.
we don't even identify. But see, I tell you about me, and I just give y'all a little sneak peek to my autobiography that's gonna come soon.
Okay, coming
But
soon.
like, I was born, I came into this world knowing excruciating pain.
Mm.
I got stuck. I was a 10-pound baby. I know I don't look like it. But I was 2 days late. I was supposed to be born on the 4th of July. And it got stuck, so I almost died. So to
Oh,
save my life, the doctor snapped my right arm to get me out.
wow.
Yeah,
Oof.
yeah. And I got a damaged nerve in my right arm because of that I actually found out later on in life. But sometimes we come into this world knowing pain.
Knowing pain, yeah.
And
Wow.
it does speak to me being able to carry pain really, really well.
Mm.
You know?
Yeah, I guess you can do that.
Yeah. I make connections to everything.
Right.
For me, like, that's just, it's a part of my healing process.
No,
Like, being able to understand myself is how I
I think that's
understand
where it
other
starts, though,
people.
right?
Yeah.
Like you gotta become accountable. That the only way your life is gonna improve is by looking at yourself,
Mm-hmm.
reflecting on like where you are. Like you can, like, I guess in a way you gotta like get out of that victimhood
Yeah.
and start looking at life as like, okay, I'm here. Like, where can I start? Like, what have I been doing? Like, you start.
Yeah.
I guess all the knowledge or all the advice that there's a point in life where everything that has people have taught you just hits you, you know, and then
Yeah.
from there you're like, you know what, it's time, you know, like I need to stop running from my problems or pointing fingers.
At other people.
Yeah, because
And
I had a
yeah.
I had my, I guess, a little snippet about my life would be that it was just like mistakes after mistakes, like trying to
Mm.
fit in, learn, and like finding my place,
Mm-hmm.
finding realizing who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I was probably in my early 20s, that's when I experienced the most the depression at a level where like suicidal thoughts,
Right.
where I didn't, and the main reason why was because I just didn't feel like I had any identity of I didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
I was trying to be too much like other people.
Right.
You know? And then that got me into situations where reality just hits you like,
Yeah.
well, how did I get here? Like, like, and then, and like, yeah, when you hit I hit rock bottom so many times, it's.
Oh yeah, we do. But
Yeah.
see, that's the one thing in the healing journey. Like people think in your healing journey that you're not supposed to make mistakes,
Mm-hmm.
or that you're not even supposed to go back to what you just came from.
Yeah.
It's not even about going back and hitting rock bottom. It's knowing how to get up from rock bottom.
That's a good point. I like that. Because I feel like a lot of times you're gonna like, you feel like you get that sense that you're gonna like almost get into the same situation, but then that experience kind of like, wait, I know I already been through something similar or worse.
Yeah.
So your experience kind of like going through the words kind of like helps you. That's why I tell people like,
cause rock bottom for real. I'm sorry.
you need rock bottom.
You do need rock bottom. And rock bottom, it don't always look the same every time.
Yeah.
It can be. I just did a show on my channel about breaking cyclic existences, because I found myself, no matter how much I've healed, no matter how much I felt like I've grown, no matter how much I felt like I've gotten past a certain point in my life where it's just like, yeah, I don't need to worry about that no more. You get triggered by something, and you automatically don't know how to handle or respond to it, and not even realizing that you triggered because you haven't completely healed from it.
Right.
Like, I had to identify in my healing journey that it's okay to get to a place where you just stop and you take into account where you are, and you know what you don't want to go back to. Like, even if it looks the same to you, even if you feel like you're going to be back into that depression, because I have major depression, I also have anxiety, I also have PTSD. Knowing and identifying those things and how I'm going to be triggered, by things that happen to me, or feel like I'm going to be back in a certain place, knowing that that's not where I'm going to be because of what I learned and what I have and what I keep for myself, in my healing journey.
Wow.
Yeah, man. It gets deep.
So, do you feel like the healing journey, I mean, I guess it is, like, it's different for a man and a woman, like, I guess it was what we experienced, right?
But I think it don't get enough play, and it doesn't get identified more with males.
I think one thing that I'm going to mention is that we were brought up different.
Right.
Because women, like, like, I have siblings, and friends growing up, and I noticed that guys are more like laissez-faire, like, go out and have fun, do whatever you want. Women are more like taken care of and sheltered anyway.
Well, you know what? That's not too different from the way I grew up. I got 7 brothers.
Okay.
It was 3 girls in our household, and I was the first oldest. The girls were given more responsibility of caring for the house, of taking care of the house. Where the boys were, they were giving more time and freedom to be like out there and doing what they want. Where the girls were kept around structure. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like the whole societal standard of in the 90s. And even before that, men take out the trash, women do the dishes, I grew up in that environment where my mother served my father. She served his meals. Like, while my dad did cook and they both did work, you know what I'm saying? It was still that structure. It was still like that type of environment. So us girls, we were forced, like books were forced on us, like reading and writing and learning. And my father was the type of man where he never wanted me to be taken advantage of. So while he wanted me to take care of a household, he also wanted me to be independent as a woman, like to be able to take care of myself, because he knew what type of man he was,
Okay.
He knew how men thought.
Right.
And he didn't want to see his girls
Yeah.
get taken advantage
I
of.
think that's the difficulty of a man like raising his daughters, and then it changes the way he sees that woman too.
Yeah.
Once you have, I don't have any kids, but
Right. Well, I got 2 kids. My oldest is 16. They just turned 16 and 8. And I don't give them those gender specific labels because for me, it's not about male and it's not about female. It's about energy. Everything is about energy for me.
Yeah.
Masculine
Yeah.
and feminine energy. You know,
good point.
we all have that.
It's more, 'cause
You know?
you can have the body of a male, but you may not be in tune with your masculine energy.
You may have more feminine energy.
Yeah.
And I'll just use this as an example. You know, your orientation might be you have more feminine energy than I do, even though I'm a cisgender female. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So we were raised in an era where we were supposed to be taught to be girl and taught to be boy.
Mm-hmm.
But I was a child, like, because I had a lot of brothers, I didn't really hang around a lot of girls. Like, I like to play football.
Yeah.
You know? I like to play basketball. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? My mom wanted me to be more of a girl, if you will.
Yeah.
But I had more masculine energy about me because that's just who I was. Like, I could beat my brothers in push-up contests. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because that's the environment I was raised in. So,
Mm-hmm.
in identifying if men have it harder, I feel like people who carry masculine energy have it a little harder because, you know, the tone of masculine energy is you're supposed to be at the forefront of everything.
Yeah.
So you don't have time to hurt. You don't have time to be vulnerable. Like, you don't have time to identify traumas. Like, you got to be presented all the time. You got to be on the forefront of everything all the time. And with people like myself who carry, like, a certain amount of masculine energy, we get neglected. We get pushed to the back burner. And our needs don't get met because we're constantly meeting the needs of everybody else around us, of every other person. So oftentimes, healing masculine energy and having to heal masculine energy doesn't really get the attention that it deserves. And I do think that that's unfair, you know, because with femininity and feminine energy, we always want that attention.
And the thing is, when you're more, the feminine energy is more in tune with their emotions, which is part of healing.
Yeah.
You know, so and then the male, the masculine, we were brought up to, like, don't cry,
Yeah.
don't like, you're not supposed to be emotional and all
Yeah.
this. So we kind of like bottle our emotions,
Yeah.
and it always comes out in, you know, in a, like, maybe a moment of, like, anger.
Right.
You know, it always comes out one way or another, and then
Yeah.
it's not never in a good way when you bottle it in, you know.
Right.
So, like, it's a lot of advice out there for men that, like, you're not supposed to be, you know, you're not supposed to be have emotions in a way. And I'm like,
Right.
what?
And that's insane.
That's insane because we're humans, right?
We're all human beings at the end of the day. And we all are made up consistently on
your
our
emotions
DNA
are
of
telling
emotion.
you something.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, I was telling you something. Like, if you're not in tune with your emotions, then how are you, like, is it your spidey senses? How are you going to improve in life and, like, know, like, you know, like,
Yeah.
like, the people are you dealing with? Like, it's
Right.
your emotions always, like, giving you, like, a heads up, like, hey, like,
Right.
you're
I've-
feeling
I've-
anger right now. Like,
I've
don't.
had relationships like that, you know,
Mm-hmm.
where they didn't feel like they should express themselves. And I felt like that's not cool, because in my growth and healing journey is like,
Yeah.
you gotta be able to be vulnerable, you know.
Yeah. And that's hard for a lot of guys.
That's hard for people in general, though.
True. Yeah.
Because nobody being vulnerable is often looked at as like being weak.
The thing with when you start being vulnerable, it does gonna come with, like, a outburst of emotions, and it might, like, lead to you having, like, one of those nights where you gotta cry, you know, and
Yeah.
things like that. And guys are not ready to deal with that,
Right.
you know.
But you know what? sometimes, and a lot of times, it really just comes from us being able to sit down
Mm-hmm.
and say, you know what, this is who I am because of what I've been through.
Mm-hmm.
And here's what I'm working on within myself to actually change and not constantly relive through my experiences over and over again.
Right.
See, a lot of times, people who have another reason for
Mm-hmm.
being involved with somebody who may present something like that,
Mm-hmm.
to mishandle that or to misuse it, it may put them in a position where they feel like, damn, I should have never said nothing.
Right. That's a good point that you brought up, because I was gonna
Yeah.
mention that how sometimes what I hear from guys is that they don't, every time they get vulnerable, like women use that against them,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
it's it can be like
Yeah.
so it's the woman's job to like,
Yeah.
it's kind of like, I guess, keeping a secret, or like not, or like being able to build that safe environment where a man can actually open up.
Right.
You know, a lot of times they don't want to open up, because then, like, you open up about something, and 3 months later, like, they use that against you, or they always, like,
Yeah.
comes up in an argument or something.
And that's where that fear comes in, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But it always, like I say on my show, man, it always lead back to us though.
Yeah.
Because if you get to a place of honesty within yourself, where literally, like, my depression was a result of me constantly holding myself accountable, of constantly saying, here's what you did, here's who you were, here's what you needed to change. Not so much focused on what the other person did to me,
Mm-hmm.
but how I allowed them to do that to me. And I mean as an adult, in an adult situation. You get what I'm saying? If we get to a place where we're that honest with ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
that no matter what I say to you, or no matter what I present to you, there is nothing that you can do to hurt me. There is nothing that you can do to use against me later. There's nothing that you can say about me that I probably already haven't said about myself.
Mm.
When you know you on that type of level,
Yeah.
can't nobody use your vulnerability against you. They
That's
can
true.
try.
But at that point, you already done enough maturity, and it like
Yeah.
getting to that point is the key.
Yeah, it's hard because we don't want to do the hard part.
Because I mean, yeah, like growing up as a guy, like it's a lot of like making fun of each other and like
Yeah.
poking fun at each other, and like that's another thing that I mentioned about like how guys and girls are brought up different.
Mhm.
Like guys don't really create like a circle of friends where they can open up about their problems or
Yeah.
issues. They just like their friends is just to like poke fun at each other or like chase hoes and things like that. And
Chase hoes.
I mean, go party, go have fun. But it's not really about, hey, like I'm just not feeling well today because like talking about like my parents were fighting, and I feel like they might get a divorce, things like that,
Mhm.
or like maybe I feel like my mom is being mistreated by my father,
Yeah.
things like that,
Yeah.
guys, and because they're gonna be like, man, quit being soft, like they gotta hit you with that, or why you
Yeah.
talking about that, man, don't worry about that, like shit like that.
Because that's like a lot of times that's the way we grew up. And
I feel like that's what we need to get to a point where like guys can be more of like friends to each other instead of just like they're friends, like we
giving each other bad advice, because people in general do that shit.
It could be
like,
bad advice, exactly, yeah.
Which is why therapy is my best friend for real. Like, and that's something that I preach
therapy,
because
okay.
I don't give anybody my shit, for lack of better words.
Mm-hmm.
I don't give that to anybody in
yeah.
intimate
Good point,
relationships.
Good point, yeah.
I don't project. I don't put that off onto my partner. I just tell them like, yo, I'm in a moment. I got a therapy session coming up, and that's where I let it all out, because you know what? That's what they get paid to do.
That's true.
That's what they are there for.
Of course, you're not gonna have like a friends night where you're just talking about your problems and crying. No, none of that.
Yeah, but you can vent, you know.
Yeah, you
But
gotta have
see,
that someone to vent to for sure.
you gotta be careful who
And
you
a lot
vent
of people
to
don't
too.
grow up with that,
Yeah.
and that's the issue. Where like people like don't know, like maybe their parents don't like give them that like two-way street where they can like talk about like things that are bothering them.
Yeah.
But they don't know how to open up with them, you know.
Yeah, like my household was a dictatorship, you know. My father was a do as I say, not as I do type of person. But what you don't realize in that moment and in those moments of having children, they watch way more of what we do than what we say, you know? And they mimic us and they mimic our personalities because we are the first line of them knowing what a human being is supposed to be. Like they don't get that from school, they get that from us. And then they get it from their peers, they get it from their friends. You get what I'm saying? So when we giving them that, we gotta watch our behavior. Inside of our homes and outside, because we don't know how ultimately like that's going to affect them and what they may have to heal from, you know. It may be some things later on in life that my son might say to me like, you know, Mom, I really didn't like when you did that as a kid and I felt this way, and I probably won't know it until he's an adult, you know, because I want to give him the space to talk and express himself, you know, and be vulnerable and be in touch with his emotions. But there may be some things he may not tell me, you know. There may be personal situations that the older he gets, he's going to have to learn from and heal from and grow from, because we all have our own personal journey and walk through this life. You know.
I agree.
Yeah.
Do you what sort of like tools or things have helped you in your journey to like get to that healing where you start healing yourself, where you don't have to go to other people, or you know, the projection where you're not like seeking, like, you know, like a lot of us like don't want to like seek happiness in someone else, you know, instead of ourselves, like, or our joy and like finding our own joy, like we want other people to give it to us, like what type of what kind of tools, books, or like religious spiritual practices have helped you in your journey?
Well, we was just talking about this a little earlier, you know. I grew up in a, like, my mom was Christian, of course. So I grew up with the faith and the belief of God. There's only one God, which I identify as the Most High Yahweh. I'm not really a religious person because for me, every religion is actually the same, you know. Like, they basically say the same thing with different characters. If you look at certain religions, you get what I'm saying?
Most of them,
So my dad was, you know, he was a practicing Muslim. So I grew up with the Bible and the Quran in my house. My father also knew, like, I was an inquisitive child and that I never believed in one thing. So the older I got, I started to adapt my spirituality to different things. Like I said, I only believe in one God, the Most High Yahweh. I believe in Jesus Christ because I believe human beings are descendants of Christ. We came from him, you know, and I see that in my everyday life and my love for humanity. Christ was created to show God's love through a human existence, you know. I also tap into, I follow the Dalai Lama, tap into Buddhism. That's where my meditation comes from, speaking to my higher self. I found myself to be more relatable because I believe in so many things, you know. And I used to have a real, like, identity crisis when it came to my spirituality because we were raised in constructs where we're in this box, you know, to only believe in one thing.
True.
But what I found in my spirituality and in speaking to my higher self and in talking to the Most High Yahweh is that there's so much of us engulfed in the world around us, you know, in our human existence, you know. Like, I was born into being a black person, a black woman. That's the identity that I carry. But I also have 11 other ethnicities. You get what I'm saying? So I'm not just made up of one thing. I'm not just made up of one existence or way of being, and that helps me to relate to other people. My spirituality is like at the top tier in my healing journey.
I feel like we have to develop that. Like
you got to develop your own unique practice for you. You know.
To me, we're in a physical journey, in a mental journey, in a spiritual journey.
Yes, I just put that in a poem. It's crazy you say. Word.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what I realized. Like sometimes we like a lot of us become too cerebral, but we don't pay attention to like our heart, our spirit.
Yeah.
And then our physical, like we have to, like, take ourselves places. We have to like make ourselves do things. Like everything in this world, like is physical. So it's about like taking care of our body. Like you know, loving our body and. So as a physical aspect of it.
Excuse me.
As a physical aspect, you're good. And like I feel like a lot of us kind of like put the spiritual side on the back burner, and I kind of like I started my spiritual journey too. Like I was agnostic most of my life. Recently, I did convert to Islam, but I always been like a person that questions everything. I'm still questioning like some of the teachings of Islam, you know, because I feel like you know it's you can't really. Like that's how I got here. Like I got to the like I believe in a God. I believe there's only one God. And I look at the teachings of Jesus as well. You know, I'm looking at I told you earlier I read the Bhagavad Gita, which is Hindu, and I learned a lot from that book. I realized that they do, even though their religion, they say that they believe in a lot of gods, but they believe in one God as well, like overall. So it was like, maybe it is the same thing, you know, in a way.
In a way it is, but I tell you, like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he talks about Christ, you know. He talks about the life of Christ. He talks about the teachings of Christ and the Bible and how, you know, churches often will misinterpret the words of man's words in the Bible, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, if I can offer a bit of advice, because I try to, you know, ask before doing so. You just got to take what resonates with you and what resonates within your soul. Because, we pay attention to our physical, but I don't think we do enough for our spirits. Like, we don't do enough for our souls, you know, because this is only a vessel.
Right.
And as this vessel deteriorates, as it gets older, as it ages, our soul will leave us.
Yeah.
And it'll go on to the next phase of whatever that existence in our soul is supposed to be. So I really just started taking care of my spirit and taking care of my logic, you know, and allowing my physical to fall into place. Because I was always somebody who cared more about their physical. You get what I'm saying?
I think a lot of people fall into that, especially nowadays, like people that stay at the gym all the time, trying to get that perfect ass, perfect abs.
Yeah.
You know?
And ain't nothing wrong with wanting to look good. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to the gym rats. Y'all out there doing it.
Yeah. But
I'm a couch potato, baby.
It becomes an obsession. And, but just like you said, like it's just a vessel. Like we're supposed to take care of ourselves, like, you know, like I mean, eat as healthy as we can, because especially nowadays it's difficult. Like everything is processed, you know. Like, all the corporations just like put like all these chemicals into what you consume. So
but I say staying consistent though, whatever your journey is.
Yeah.
You know, like for me, I meditate every morning, no matter what's going on, because it honestly helps to calm my anxiety. You know, because I'm like ripping through my day before it's even started.
I'm reading a book called The Way of the Zen, I think, by Alan Watts, and it goes from like the beginning of what is like Buddhism and how they don't know exactly how it's, like there's different like people through history, like in India and China, that, you know, they in Japan, like they're all kind of like, you know, pushing it forward. And but they like the meditation aspect, like
a lot of it kind of became mainstream too into like the yoga and all that. But it's really like you can meditate while just like doing things like
driving,
yeah,
walking,
yeah,
cooking. You have a meditation moment is it works in a few ways. It's a moment of reflection. It's a moment of centering yourself, gathering all your energy into one place and reaching it, pushing it higher to speak to yourself positively. And then to speak to whoever it is that you speak to in that moment, your ancestors, your spirit guides, you know what I mean? Yahweh, Christ, the Holy Spirit, whatever. It's like almost like prayer, you know?
Yeah.
But in the moment you're not really asking for anything, you set your affirmations, and that's what you want to have for yourself. And for me, like staying on top of that, that's been like the greatest thing for me, because my day can be hard, you know? I can end up having a really hard day, but at the end of it, it's gratifying because I got through it without being overstressed, without being overly worried, without being that constant nagging, you know, anxious feeling of gotta go, gotta go, gotta go.
Oh, yeah.
You know? And when you have anxiety, that's all that anxiety does while you are sitting still. Gotta go, gotta go, gotta go. You know? Having that moment is so important.
I mean, I feel like everyone has anxiety in this day and age.
Oh, yeah.
Because, this, you know, with capitalism, with like the bills that we gotta pay, we're like trying to become something, like feel like the FOMO, like there's so much going on, technology moving at a rapid pace.
Yeah. And then
you know?
Stepping away from the phone, bro.
Yeah.
Like cutting that joint all the way off. Like literally glued to it all the time, especially when you're a content creator, you know, and you're supposed to be constantly pushing shit out there. The way they say, look, I got a hard time keeping up. I ain't gonna hold you.
Yeah,
because
me too.
it can be so draining, and it's like I can't keep up with the Joneses and them. I can't keep up with everybody.
Like the newest trend. Like, oh, make sure you use this sound.
I can't do what's trending because I need to do me. You know, and you either gonna like it, you gonna love it, or you gonna say I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, or it's gonna resonate with you when you gonna rock with it. That's all I got. You know.
Let's take a break and then come back.
Cool.
That way we can set. We're back.
Okie doke.
With Kira.
Yeah.
We're getting deep into healing. So this
it's getting heavy.
Talking about it.
Talking heavy.
Talking heavy for sure. Talking about actually helps you heal too. You know.
No doubt. That's all. Honestly, like that's really the biggest part of healing and the healing journey. Like being vulnerable.
Bringing it to the surface. Yeah.
And like we was just saying in the beginning, you know, for those who didn't catch it, it's hard. You know, people think spirituality or being spiritual is, you know, all rainbows and sunshine. And it's not always that way, because you got to tap into a lot of darkness. And darkness comes from things that we don't want to identify about ourselves to be true.
The shadow work.
The shadow work. Not what nobody else told us. The things that you have told yourself. And not in a way that you are talking down on yourself, but you are identifying the hard shit about you that you want to change.
So that's one thing I learned from, or like, once I got deeper into Islam, is that it's kind of like prevents, it's like a slippery slope.
Yeah.
Like prevents you from like not, you know, drinking, gambling, you know, like all this stuff.
Right.
But at the same time, like other people that are hardcore practicing, they don't really get to that to get to know that side, that dark side, and then it may become an issue. But they
right.
It's a touchy subject when it comes to Islam, because
I feel you. You know what, I typically try to stay away from like religion because and I say religion because it's man-made, you know, and just try to adapt my own spirituality and recognizing what it is that I need for myself. Like me and my mom have this knockdown, drag out fight about the difference between faith and religion, you know? Okay. Religion gives me structures, it gives me guidelines, it gives me rules that I have to follow. But my faith and my spirituality says I am who the Creator made me to be. That I like that. I was made in identifying Yahweh as my higher power, and saying that it's Yahweh is all things in everything. It encompasses all things, you know. And I say he because that's what I was, you know, raised to give that masculine energy to traditionally. But God is also a woman.
Yeah, I mean it's you know language. It's limited to express ourselves sometimes.
Right, it is. So. Because everybody falls into these structures of, well, this is what all of these people believe, so this is what I have to believe. But can't nobody tell you how to heal, you know? Can't nobody tell you, you know, what's right for you. And I've made my podcast a self-help podcast specifically, and I make all of my topics very general. Because I never want, like, my audience, folks I'm talking to feel like I'm telling them what to do. Okay. You get what I'm saying? I can't tell you what to do. I can't tell you how to live your life. I ain't got all the answers. I'm still figuring it out on my journey as well. But what I am willing to do is share my experience. Right. Yeah. And what I learned from that experience, how I thought previously, and how I decided to change my thought process and challenge it just to be a better human being. You know? Yeah. That's also been a part of my healing journey. Being confident enough in my own shit even.
In your own shit?
In my own shit.
You have to.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all right, so I have another question, I guess. Like, do you have any? So you don't want to give any specifics, you know, about like because everyone's experience or everyone's dealing with something different, and right, you know, and that's true. That's a good point.
And it's like for me, it's hard. It's so hard to talk without giving advice. Yeah. Because I'm like naturally a nurturing and helpful person, but all help is not warranted. You know.
That's true.
Which is why I'm becoming better at saying, if I can offer a piece of advice, that don't mean you gotta take it.
Because I realized when you tell people, when you start with like, you should do this, or you should do that, people would just...
They'll shut down.
Shut down, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's weird. Like, I notice it on myself too, but
right.
I try to be more attentive of like how I react to what people say.
Right.
Like, how... like being more reflecting on my how I talk to myself. Right. You know, that's very important. That's what I wanted to get to. Like, do you you said like how you used to be and now how you are. Do you feel like you're a better friend to yourself?
Oh yeah, I'm my own best friend.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's because I've always been someone who didn't really have a lot of friends, you know, more so because like I moved around a lot, and I always felt like I eyeball out, you know, especially like amongst my peers and people that look like me. You get what I'm saying? So, and learning to love myself more, I do more of the things that I enjoy for me in my own company. And not always feeling like I'm going to be alone or that I need to be alone. Because what comes from, you know, that isolation or isolating yourself from other people out of the fear of judgment. You know, I was bullied as a kid, so I've always had a fear of people judging me. I used to say, you know, I don't care what nobody thinks about me, but internally I cared the most about what people thought about me. From, you know, the way I wore my hair to the way I spoke, which, you know, that poem was about, to even, you know, the way I dressed, you know?
Yeah.
And being my own best friend means I'm good with the way I present myself. I'm good with who I am, and I love me more than enough to be able to share that with other people, you know, and feeling okay with my big ass smile, because it's something I always like had a problem with, you know?
Yeah.
In the past, like being okay with showing up and being my bubbly self and being, you know, quirky Kira, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, and not fearing that judgment of, you know, I'm going to be looked at different because I'm that way.
Wow.
You know, loving yourself a whole lot more will make a difference. Yeah.
And like the healing journey never stops. It's kind of like when you meditate, that what do you call it? Nirvana or samadhi. Like getting to that point, it's elusive. Like you might be healed, but I mean, you gotta do like something from the past might just come to you, and then it might be all of a sudden you're like, oh shoot, like I gotta like go through this. I gotta reflect on this. You know? I mean that's part of it is like being okay with like your past self, because a lot of us don't. It's hard to bring up like it's stuff that we've been through, you know, and.
But you would be less without it. That's what I say.
It made you who you are in a way.
Yeah, like it built the person that you are and the capability to show somebody else that might be enduring a very similar situation that, yo, if I can come out of it, so can you. That it's possible to come from hard places, to have experienced hard things in your life and create a better existence for yourself. You know? Most people think too, like in the healing journey, that you gotta do it alone. Don't you believe that shit? There are some things that you need for yourself, you know?
Like relationship advice.
Yeah.
When people say like don't get in a relationship if you're not healed, like, or do you think that?
But you never healed.
That's
like,
true.
You never stopped healing.
I heard someone say that. Yeah, that kind of like advice that like maybe it's better to just get into a relationship. You can heal in a relationship.
Now you should heal from a situation.
Yeah.
You should heal from a person, so that the next person you encounter don't gotta deal with the stuff that person puts you through.
Yeah.
Like it's the expression of leave your bags at the door.
Yeah.
And walk in with your hands
you need
free.
some time prior, like jumping into something else. Like you can't just go from one to next.
Everybody's healing process is different.
But when you like get out of a relationship and then like maybe you did meet someone that you know you really like, and like, but subconsciously maybe you kind of like projecting a little bit, or like comparing the new person to the old person because it's like too fresh in your mind. Maybe you need like a little more time between them.
Okay,
this advice like about that, like
see, it depends, because like I just said, everybody's time frame on healing is different. You get what I'm saying?
Healing from a situation.
Healing from a person. Situation. I was somebody who like would drag a lot of my baggage with me into like new situations. And what I come to find with that is nobody wants to deal with the leftovers. Nobody wants to deal with what the last person dealt with. And it could be 2 years being single, being alone. If I have not taken the time to heal in that time frame, to focus on healing,
true, yeah,
I'm still gonna give the next person that baggage.
Yeah.
Still gonna give the next person that leftover baggage.
True.
Now Kira now, in the present day, has identified what's detrimental from a past relationship. Same. And being honest, like I'm talking to a new gentleman, and I told him, listen, I just went through something wild. I just went through something hard. I just want a friend. I just want to kick it.
Well,
let's get to know each other.
It's already
let's, you know what I'm saying?
That your previous relationship is already playing a factor on your present situation.
But I've been able to say something I wasn't able to say before.
Yeah.
Whereas I would put off everything I was feeling from the past relationship on the next person, masking it. You know what I'm saying? Just to feel.
Right, yeah.
I'm presenting that person with, here's what I have. Here's where I am. Here's where I am in my process of healing.
Letting them acknowledge that.
Giving them the opportunity to decide if you going to be around and see where I'm at.
Instead of kind of like throwing all your problems or traumas.
Exactly.
Under the rug, yeah.
Or you going to walk the other way. And you know what?
No. So that's good.
No harm, no foul.
That's good. Like, you have to be okay with them walking away or with you walking away. Because when you get in a situation where you can't walk away, that's when it's an issue.
It's toxic.
Mm-hmm.
That's when it's toxic.
Man.
That's
a lot of toxic motherfuckers out there.
Man. I think some people will, constantly spew out that word. It's just like a normal word now. Toxic.
The toxic culture were like, oh, be toxic, man. Like,
that shit's weird to me. Because who wants to be damaging? That's what toxicity is. It's damaging.
Yeah.
Who wants to be a person that constantly argues with
watching
somebody?
Your back.
You gotta look over your shoulder.
Yeah.
You can't trust them.
Yeah.
Like, we gotta get rid of that whole toxic culture of, oh yeah, baby, I'm toxic. No, I'm not toxic. And I don't have nothing toxic for you. And if I ever see myself exhibiting...
Like, who cheats on who first?
Yeah.
Type of toxic, or like, oh, you cheated on me? All right, I'm going to get you back. You know, shit like that. I'm like...
I'm going to leave you alone. Because, sweetheart, if I feel like I need to be with anybody else and we haven't had that established, because there's so many different types of intimate relationships, if we haven't established that, guess what? I'm good. I'm good off that, and I hope you good off that too. Because it's just like, I'm talking about like, the other person. Because when you've gotten to a place where because you've went through certain things and you've had certain experiences, that you're not going to put yourself back into those toxic behaviors or toxic patterns.
Right.
Again, going back to acknowledging and identifying your own shit.
Yeah.
You refuse to take anybody else's shit unless they've identified their shit and they're working on it.
I identify a lot of my shit from my past relationships.
Right.
Where like when you're in a relationship, you gotta be committed. You gotta like do your part as a man. And I think I was more of a boyfriend than her man,
Okay, so what does that mean to you? Like, what's the definitive difference there?
When you're in a relationship, I guess now it's more of like, I'm more like, if I'm being in a relationship, I'm gonna be committed to that person, and then I'm going to make sure that I am meeting her needs instead of just worry about what's in my agenda,
Right.
Like, that's how it was before. It was more of like.
So let me ask you a question then. Did you know that was something that she actually wanted?
What?
As far as you presenting yourself as who you are. See, here's the thing. When we get involved with people and we present all of what we want to do and all of what we want to give them without knowing if that's something that they even want from us. Yeah. Maybe she didn't need you to be a provider.
Well,
or
I think it was,
or the man in a relationship. Maybe she just needed a companion.
I hear you.
Do you think, and I'm asking a question now, do you think that that's a part of something that you have to identify to heal?
No, I feel that nowadays I realize that I guess who I was when I got into a relationship was still like boy mentality, Like I was still growing up.
Oh, like immature.
Immature.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I wasn't meeting a lot of needs that will eventually cause resentment in their relationship. So it was more of like who I was.
Right.
Like now, like it's not about me trying to be a provider or trying to like do all these extra things. It's just knowing that what it takes to make a relationship.
You're still healing certain aspects of being in a relationship.
Well,
for me, and I can honestly say that, like, when it comes to intimate relationships, I know how I put my relationship on a pedestal, you know? I put the person that I'm with on a pedestal. I am, and some people might think this is naive, but I come into a relationship automatically trusting a person. And it's what you do after that actually devalues that, you know?
That's important in a relationship.
Yeah.
Trust. Like once that, like you said, once that trust gets damaged,
then there's no good, you know?
Yeah.
The mistake I made in the past is trying to keep a relationship and make it work when that trust is violated. You know? For me, once you lose the trust, you lose a very significant part of any relationship, whether it be a business relationship, whether it be, you know, an intimate relationship, whether it be a friendship. When you violate somebody's trust, it's like, I should be able to turn my back at any given moment and know you still going to be the same person behind me that you are in front of me, you know?
I agree. And I feel like that was my past relationship is the way it started.
Yeah.
Those things weren't like set. Like, you know, we just didn't know the... I guess I didn't know the importance of certain things in a relationship, like the value of trust and all those things. Like, so, yeah, I agree with you. Like, trust is important. Like, not neglecting, like your partner, as in like their needs, like understanding like what kind of things they like and how can you like the love languages, you know? Like a lot. Like if you don't meet the love languages, then they're not gonna be fulfilled.
Yeah,
you know, so.
I just did my last podcast, first Saturday of the month about what is your love language, you know, and I actually posted a link to a quiz there, because I like, you know, taking little quizzes and stuff like that just to see what it's gonna say, to see if it resonates with me. But that comes with also answering the questions honestly, like you would with anything, right?
Right, yeah.
So, like, mine is words of affirmation, which it does make sense to me because I'm a person of words, you know? And it's like...
Me too, yeah. Words of affirmation.
Yeah, like reaffirming, you know, who you are. Reaffirming, you know, where we are. Reaffirming, you know, our connection. Like, making sure that the other person is good. Like you would make sure, like you would want that reciprocated. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I think this key, the way a relationship starts makes a big difference. So.
No doubt.
So
doubt.
If it doesn't start well, then probably won't end well. So.
I mean, and unless
you can correct
two people you gotta be willing to meet each other halfway.
Yeah, true.
You know,
like give each other a second chance, third chance if like. Certain things happen, but they didn't you didn't cross that line because you know that line like that. Once it gets crossed,
and you got to decide what you're willing to deal with. What are you willing to deal with? If you don't make the decision to really know and understand, like as far as like the healing journey is concerned, if you meet somebody that's still going through that healing process from their previous relationship, you got to be willing to meet. If they're honest about where they are, if they're honest feeling like, yo, you know, I'm in a real vulnerable spot right now, like I don't know how this gonna turn out, like I don't know what I can really do, you know. And that was another thing I had to learn again. My last relationship, I was in a very vulnerable place where I didn't feel strong enough to say I'm not ready for this relationship, and jumped into that relationship while I was still healing from the situation that I had been in. And it could have very well worked out for me and that person just to be friends.
Yeah. So you think that if a person is not healed from a previous relationship, it might become an issue in the relationship that they're in? Because I think that's what happened to us.
Yeah.
Like, where it was a 5-year relationship, but
Mm-hmm.
like it was like we weren't completely healed from our previous relationships.
Right. Well,
And
you know what?
And that kind of affected the beginning of
Yeah.
the relationship.
Yeah.
So
I was with my daughter's father for 10 and a half years. We met right after, actually, I got divorced. I got married at 22.
okay.
So from that marriage, married too young in my opinion, jumped right into a relationship with him. What I had come to find, though, is that this person that I wanted to be to him, my previous relationship wanted to be that to me.
Mm.
And so I was involved in something that I wanted and that I wanted to make work, not realizing that I was still carrying, a lot of energy from my marriage
Mm-hmm.
that didn't work, and trying to force him to be somebody that he wasn't,
Mm-hmm.
As my ex tried to force me to be somebody that I wasn't. So I stayed in that for a very long time because I felt like it was a possibility this could change. This could change, this could change, this can change.
Were you trying to change him, or
I was trying to change the outcome of our relationship,
Yeah.
where the end result I wanted it to be marriage.
Mm-hmm.
But what ended up happening is that I became an enabler for his wrongdoings. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he enabled me by being there and being around when that's not something I should have had in my life. If I'm making any sense with that. Like
It's kind of like you added fuel to the fire. Maybe,
Yeah.
To his
yeah,
whatever he was doing.
yeah.
Mhm.
Like when he started to cheat, I cheated too. Instead of walking away.
Yeah.
Oh, well, like anything you can do, I can do better.
Yeah, it's that.
When he became abusive, I became abusive in return.
Yeah.
So we became mirrors of all of these bad things
Mm-hmm.
because I wanted him to be somebody that he wasn't. You get what I'm saying? Whereas my last relationship, with my marriage, I just walked away from it. I just walked away from it because it was turned on me. You get what I'm saying? He wanted me to be somebody that I wasn't.
Oh.
So instead of me walking
Like
away
the
from
ball was on your court.
Exactly.
Like, Kara, like I want you, like if you change this, if you change this, like things that will make you a better person, maybe.
Yeah. Well,
like it's not like changing you as a person.
I can charge it to me being young, honestly. Still wanting to hang out, still wanting to do whatever I wanted to do, and then that disruption coming in because I wasn't ready to be married. But what was instilled in me, I had a young child, was mom, dad, child. You get what I'm saying? So we're supposed to be married because of the construct that I came up in that belief. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Even though I was not ready for it. Even with my son being young, I still was also young. I was 22 years old. I wanted to hang out in the streets, do a lot of stuff that my husband didn't want to do, And we were around the same age. So that became damaging for him, and that was something that he had to heal from because I wasn't able to be who he wanted me to be, which led to our divorce. Not very long after that, I met someone that I thought was just God's gift, and seeing how incredible of a person he was when we first met, and seeing all his talents and seeing this and seeing that about him, I ultimately wanted him to be somebody that he wasn't. And I stayed waiting for him to be somebody that he never was going to be. and it created damage in me. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it was something that it took a long time for me to heal from. Like, I'm still learning about who I was in that situation, why it became abusive, why I was fighting someone for themselves when they wasn't fighting for themselves. What it was that I did when I could have been able to just walk away.
Yeah.
Sometimes we not strong and we don't feel strong enough to walk away.
That's why it's hard.
Yeah, that's why healing is hard.
It's hard, like, when you, like, the people that you let into your life, especially intimately and sexually, like, you become attached to them. And then, and then once that happens...
It's called a soul tie.
That's what they call it, right?
Yeah, no, I believe that.
Yeah.
Like,
so
that's tapping into somebody else's energy.
So how do you feel about people that have all this casual sex all the time and like?
I think it's dangerous.
Not
just physically dangerous.
Right.
Spiritually dangerous.
Spiritually dangerous.
Because you don't know all these people that you laying down with. You picking up all of the stuff, everything, not just the good things, but
and you're forming
soul
energy. Ties,
yeah.
without knowing it, and now you're like wondering why you can't find that person that you're looking for because you have all these attachments that you're not. I think
you haven't been willing to break.
I had a conversation when I might do a podcast with this guy, and we got into all this how there's so many things that affect us on a deeper level. For example, like we got into the topic, I don't know what you think about it, but abortion, how it affects women in a spiritual level as well.
Yeah.
So, it's, and I mean, I used to be in favor of it because I was like, yeah, a woman should have the right. But I feel like from my relationship, she had the IUD. So whenever you have
yeah, I know what an IUD is.
Yeah. Whenever you no, I was gonna say whenever you have sex, you can come inside her, right? And she's not gonna have a kid. So what if the body was expecting a kid? Or not the body, but the spirit, like a baby from that intercourse. Because
well, see, that's biology though, and that's what that's a whole other conversation on contraceptive in itself. What I do think is a little bit. You went all the way left field.
Yeah.
But it's all good.
It's
it
about
happens.
the spiritual aspect of relationship and being intimate with people.
But I don't agree with, allowing somebody to just leave their bodily fluids in you for one, no, ill. For women, it throws up, our pH balance. That's a whole nother conversation. But as far as what the spirit gets from it, as far as like the healing journey, when something like that happens, when you connect with somebody, it can be disruptive. It can be disruptive in your healing journey if you take it on as something that's going to cause you damage. That's really just falling back into old behavior. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
That's not being able to identify, all right, that this situation is not going to work for me. It's not going to work for me in my process and my process of becoming a better person and being a better person for me, so that I don't give the next person my slack, and understanding that we're always healing. You get what I'm saying? Now, what you do know about being healed is that you no longer accept what you've accepted in the past as being okay, not from you and not from anybody else. If I see myself getting ready to be put in a position, in any position, business, relationship, friendship, my relationships with my family members, if I feel like I'm going to be put in a position where my healing, the work that I've done on myself, is compromised, I'm doing something I've never done before. Stand up for myself.
Right. Oh, yeah.
I'm reasserting myself.
That's hard. And setting boundaries.
Oh no, it's become very easy for me. It used to be hard.
Yeah, you're right.
It is hard in the beginning,
it's
especially when you've never been somebody to tell people no.
Exactly. I was gonna say that. Saying being able to that point where you're comfortable with saying no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite thing to say, honestly, is when I feel like I'm taking on is too much. I do not have the capacity for it. Meaning, nowhere in my life, in my existence, anything about me, do I have the capacity to fulfill the obligation that you want me to fulfill. Because for me, I'm a person that being involved in anything, I throw myself into it completely. All of me goes into it.
Well,
and I can't half-ass.
I think that's as a guy, I see that women do that. That's in their nature. Because they don't want to go from too many.
I mean, that's the nature of ambitious people, honestly.
Yeah.
You know, when you somebody that's just like, you out there to get it. Or if you somebody that cares about people.
Well, I'm talking about relationships. But right. Even in business, like, that's, like, different. Like.
Yeah. Even in just, being a community advocate, you find yourself, working a lot for free. Because that's just what you got to give, You had asked me earlier about a book I read or any tools, aside from meditation in my healing journey. I picked up this book called How to Live the Way to a Meaningful Life by the Dalai Lama. And basically, it's just about, people who are in positions of servitude, what we get out of giving ourselves to people.
Yeah.
What fulfillment and what gratification do you have in your life and your existence by denying the extravagant and lavish things, but really just living like a normal, simple life in order to be able to give to people.
The greater good.
To add to the greater good.
I decided to open up the Bhagavad Gita today. It's a short book, and
he mentioned that book too.
And it was about like the person that lives his life as service to others.
Yeah.
It's like ignores there's pleasures. It's like immediate pleasures and all this. Like, it's a person that's closer to God.
Yeah.
They call it. They call it differently, but
right.
God. And like living like that, they basically, when you just live in the moment of the best moment to do it is in service of others, giving others, and so.
The only thing the adaptation I took from that is, because I just take what resonates with me, is being of service to other people. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And knowing that that's a part of my life fulfillment, but what I do for me and how I take care of myself gives me the ability to be that person. How I take care of myself gives me the ability to be a person who gives to other people. Because I've been someone who's constantly given to other people and had nothing left for myself. Where it felt damaging.
You mentioned the other aspect of giving too much, or like basically ignoring yourself and like your healing, and just like it becomes counterproductive when you just like don't make time for yourself to it's always other people.
Yeah, definitely.
It's kind of like the workaholic,
Yeah. Oh, I've been that too.
The workaholic, or like I told you, I was gonna mention. Like guys that have a chip on their shoulder, it doesn't have to be guys. People that have a chip on their shoulder, like, and they use that to like stay motivated, stay like going hard, and then they become successful. But then
the grind culture. That's the culture we come from.
Grind culture, yeah. They keep that, and then they pretend that the chip in the shoulder is still there, but it's not there. Just to like maintain like this, to basically like avoid the reflecting and the healing process. They still like, nah, no one gave me anything. I'm on my own. Like,
and that's even people that started from the bottom and worked their way from the ground up, grinding, hustling, whatever. If you think about it, like really truly think about it, it was somebody, one person. That person don't even have to be around anymore.
Yeah.
It was somebody that looked at you and took a chance on you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
There was somebody who said, you know what, I'm going to give you an opportunity to get there.
I believe that.
Or you know what, or I'm going to give you this interview because I know what that's going to do for you. I'm going to give you this thing here because knowledge. I know what that's going to get. I'm going to school you.
Yeah.
Because I know where that's going to take you. Even if you taken the knowledge and applied it on your own, you didn't do it by yourself. I used to feel like I was always somebody that was doing it by myself. And the first thing I had to acknowledge was God is always with me.
Ooh, I'm glad you mentioned that.
So I'm never alone.
Glad you mentioned that. 'Cause I feel like
I might be alone in my human experience.
God always puts a person in your life to help you through the process.
Oh, yeah. Like people are reasons and seasons. Some people come in your life for a reason. Some people come in your life for a season. And some people come in your life for both. You determine, and your actions and your free will and the free will that we're given determines who that person becomes. And good and bad, yo, I'm so grateful for everybody that's ever been in my life. That's ever been a part of my life.
I always felt like there was always someone in my life.
Yeah.
I'm glad they were there because I look back like, wow, if they wouldn't have helped me, I could have been homeless.
Or if I didn't go through that experience, I would have never grew up. Like the relationship with my daughter's father, that long relationship that was super toxic, taught me how to be more adult in relationships.
The thing that happened in my life that changed my life, the turnaround was like being locked up for 3 months. Like that. Oh man, still recording here. But that was the turnaround of, I learned so much in jail.
Yeah.
And like I started reading.
You want to change the battery real quick?
I might have to get another one from over there. I know you can
edit this later, but you could probably come back and
you
want to grab? All right.
We got about a few. We can wrap it up.
Why don't you finish recording from your phone?
Okay.
Yeah, like quick. Pause it. Because you're going to have to edit all this shit.
Nah, let's keep it going.
And they started playing music too. I could hear it in the headphones. Excuse me. I don't have a cold or COVID allergies. And I smoke a lot. Probably too much.
That's fine. But yeah, like so this, do you have like, so you said that relationship with your ex-husband, it
wasn't my husband, it was my daughter's father. We was just together for
but things like that you kind of appreciate, like, only, I mean, you can't really,
even though it became
delete it from your past, right?
It became a relationship, a situation where it was abusive, you know what I'm saying? But it was also like, I'm a fighter, you feel me? I grew up with 7 brothers.
Oh, for real?
So he was abusive, so I got abusive.
Yeah.
And after that situation, I felt like a victim, and I never wanted to be a victim. So I still had to identify in all that time, because it was like the last 7 years that were really hard, why I stayed there. And I've had to heal from that. You get what I'm saying? And that's been a part of my healing journey when it comes to relationships.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that I'm not projecting how the last person treated me onto the next person that I'm with.
Or like hoping that it gets better, or like, you know, like sometimes we just like hoping things will improve, but we're taking so much at the moment, like we're like just hoping like this will be the last time this happened, like I'll make sure it doesn't happen again. But we're already like you said earlier, like you decide what you want to tolerate or put up with. Yeah.
And that's your healing journey, yo. Can't nobody tell you how to heal. Can't nobody tell you what to believe. Can't nobody tell you what to do.
Yeah.
Like me, with a self-help podcast, people will ask, what qualifies you to give advice? My experiences, being honest about my experiences, knowing that I've learned hard shit, I've been through hard shit, and I've gotten through it, and I looked at it as a lesson that taught me how to heal, that taught me how to move forward, that taught me my love language, that taught me, am I being a victim or if I'm being victimized, that taught me that I am a woman divine, that taught me so many. And these is all past episodes, things that I done talked about. You get what I'm saying?
Right. Like instead of like hiding your shine, you kind of like more like, okay, let myself shine. Like you're like more glowing in a way, like, you know, instead of like shying away from or like covering yourself from who you really are, you know.
My light don't block nobody else's, it makes theirs grow.
Right.
When you light another candle, the candle don't go out, that candle grows. I just want to see people be beautiful, man.
That's what I want to see too. I mean, that's why I started doing podcasts. Well, mainly to have great conversations like what we're having today.
Facts.
And because it's helping me as well, you know. Like the more we meeting people.
Yeah.
But isn't it crazy like how those things that are like could be the worst things that happen in our lives is the best things that happen in our lives?
Oh yeah. When you look back on it, it's like that's probably the best thing that ever happened for me. Like situation I was in, coming out of a hard situation last year, I wasn't thinking about my poetry. But because I was in that element, because I was involved with somebody who, you know, that's what they did, and then they saw the potential that I had to grow to be better, and I got back into that element, it's so much has come from it. And it was, you know, unfortunately a hard thing that I had to go through with the individual, but it made a difference, and I'm grateful for that person. I'm grateful who that person was in my life, you know what I mean? And what I've been able to come, and it's only up. It's all the way up from here, you know?
But some people just don't learn. I mean, they just, like, I'm talking from, like, whenever I was locked up for 3 months, you see people in there that are like, I'm never coming here again. And these people there bragging about how many times they've been in jail, all the things they did. I'm like, they get stuck in the system.
Right.
I'm like, damn.
Because.
And I see that with my, like, older people too.
Yeah.
Like my uncles, you know, that maybe they could have, like, I don't know if, like, previous generations, the healing, they didn't really do a lot of healing. Like my parents, I mean, bless their heart, like I love them, but you know, like they didn't really develop that try to like overcome their traumas and things like that.
Yeah, see, we was raised by Gen Xers and baby boomers, you know what I'm saying? So that generation before us, they're kind of just like wrapped up in their ways because they feel like they've reached a certain point in their life where there's nothing that they can actually learn because they only stick to what they know. And that's nothing against the older generation, because as a matter of fact, I date older. You get what I'm saying? And I'm 35. So, I'm
33, 26,
so
up to 50.
We got Gen X, you know, parents, you know, and they kind of are a generation of that been through some stuff, was born in the civil rights movement. You get what I'm saying? Like, so they've experienced a lot. I do know that it's something and things that we can learn from them. But the generation after them, us like millennials, we were the recreation and the dawn of a new age to take those values and those principles and expand on them, you know? And now the Gen Zers, which is my son's generation and my daughter's, we're supposed to be teaching them how to capitalize on those values. You know, but still keeping the same moral code, because our babies are lost, man.
Oh, yeah.
Our babies are lost.
The teenagers now are lost in a way, because most of the shootings going on are like young people. Like
it's a lot of violence amongst young people. While it is a lot of movers and shakers in the world, you know what I'm saying? There's also a lot of violence amongst young people. But what you can even see, and even in some people in the media, the awakening that's happening, you know? People are finally starting to wake up to the agenda that's being displayed. you know, that was actually put on us, you know. But listen, man, the healing journey, because we done said, I should have known this conversation was going to go into a few different things, because that's just what I do.
Right. No, that's good, because we're about to, like, you know, we the studio, when we're about to wrap it up, and I appreciate it, again, like, doing this podcast with me, because I think we share a lot of gems. And
Facts.
Again, the book, you know, the poetry book, More Than Meets the Eye.
Vivid paintings of poetry, that is available on my website. I'll make sure you get the links. www.
And she's dropping her biography?
Not yet.
Not
That's
yet.
coming.
Working on it. Okay.
That'll be in the works. I just gave y'all some previews of what might be in there and on the show. So you heard it here first on the Port Entertainment. Okay?
All right.
Give credit
exclusive
where
stuff.
it's due. You feel me?
But I appreciate you coming through again.
Yeah, no doubt.
We definitely got to do this again. And thank you for tuning in. Till next time.
Yeah. Peace.
Peace.